Serge, 4 public speaking, 11 have fun. 4 public speaking, 11 have fun. They don't go together. Tonight, we're going to start the launch of the Tourism Futures Fund. This started 2 years ago at the inaugural Conservation Lab. It then took traction at the SATSA annual general meeting, where a vast majority of the tourism practitioners at a senior level said they're going to back this fund. The fund is not to take the place of the existing funding, but to provide grand scheme, big picture conservation initiatives around this particular problem. This is from last year's Conservation Lab, put up by Peter Fernand, where the next billion people are going to live. If we don't address the conservation issues with our communities right now, how are we going to face the future? And if you have a look at all these pictures from Google, take a Google look. Wheat fields in the Mara, Serengeti, 200,000 animals a year being poached every single year. And it goes all the way through Africa, through to places like Rwanda, Uganda, right down to South Africa. This mass of people living on our borders are not part of the tourism industry. They're not part of the wildlife industry. And this is our single biggest threat. Unless we start to put processes in place right now, we're not going to save the rhinos. Look at this mass of people here outside Kruger Park. There's Kruger Park. And anybody living in one of these huts, General Use, so that's one of your picks, can easily be tempted to cross the border fence for 5,000 Rand if they're going to put food on their table. But this is the ultimate problem. Nduma Game Reserve, nearly 100 years old. The people are so pissed off with tourism and wildlife, they've now invaded the park. They're growing millies inside the park. They're putting up houses, and they, in the heart of the park, they are now destroying it. Why? Because we've got the old tourism market. We've got the new, the current today, where places like Amboseli, 1960, less than 1 person per square kilometre. Today, over 25 people per square kilometre. If we don't address the next billion people, if we don't sort them out today, how are we going to go forward? And the Tourism Futures Fund can do that. It means the tourism industry has to come together. We've got a very good partner in Peace Parks, who've agreed to put up the first 8 million Rand to make it work for the first 3 years. We've got Grant Thornton involved to look at the finances. We've got PwC involved to do the tax. This fund is going to be a real game changer. And we believe that we've got the structures inside Peace Parks to look after the money. It's private sector run, but it's got government endorsement. The key is that there's treasury. Peace Parks are going to run this thing for 5% initially of the costs and going down to 1% of the costs. We've got a potential game changer here if everybody buys in its scale. And in South Africa, the tourism industry is worth about 100 billion Rand a year. If it's 0.5% on every single invoice, we can raise 500 million every single year, and it's sustainable. And that's not including what other people donate. But here's the game changer. Tourism guys are generally very schnoop. To make this thing work, we've worked out a way that all the money contributed comes off your taxes via Section 18A or Section 11. So you can get your money back. The second part of it is that you get BE status. Paul Warmont, where's Paul in the room? Paul is the guy who's driving it behind the ground. He's got all the tax advice. If you want to chat to Paul, he's going to be here for the next 2 days. And we're launching at Indaba on the 8th of May. Folks, once this thing's joined up and sorted out, we will then roll it out into the rest of Africa. But we need to sort out the snafus in South Africa. And then every country can then make it work to suit their particular markets. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Coach.